Welcome back to Movie Vault. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the first season of You, the psychological thriller that took Netflix by storm. This season introduces us to Joe Goldberg, a seemingly charming bookstore manager with a dark secret. His idea of love is anything but ordinary. From the moment Joe meets aspiring writer Guinevere Beck, he's captivated. But admiration quickly turns into obsession as he takes control of her life from behind the scenes. Through social media and stolen moments, Joe infiltrates Beck's world, manipulating events to bring them closer. But as we soon learn, anyone who stands in Joe's way has a habit of disappearing. Let's break down the twists and turns of You Season 1. A chance encounter or something more? Joe first meets Beck when she visits the bookstore where he works. A charming, witty, aspiring writer, she piques his interest immediately. But for Joe, interest isn't enough. He wants everything. With a quick internet search, Joe uncovers her entire life, her friends, her struggles, her ambitions. When a drunken Beck stumbles too close to danger on the subway tracks, Joe is conveniently nearby to save her. A noble act, or the first step in a carefully constructed plan? Taking her home, Joe seizes an opportunity. He steals her phone. With access to her messages, emails, and location, he now has an all-access pass to her world. When Beck later visits the bookstore to thank him, Joe takes things further. He asks her out. There's just one problem. Benji, Beck's on-again, off-again boyfriend. And Joe? He doesn't like obstacles. Removing the competition. Joe lures Benji to the basement of his bookstore, where he locks him inside a plexiglass book vault. As Joe learns more about him, it becomes clear. Benji is selfish, unfaithful, and toxic for Beck. Meanwhile, Beck struggles in her own world. Her professor makes inappropriate advances, and she fights to prove herself as a writer. Her best friend, Peach Salinger, a wealthy socialite, grows increasingly suspicious of Joe. When Joe uncovers a dark secret from Benji's past, he makes a calculated decision. And just like that, Benji is gone. With Benji out of the picture, Joe shifts his focus to winning Beck over. But just as things seem to be falling into place, another roadblock emerges. Peach Salinger, the real threat. Peach, Beck's closest friend, isn't just protective, she's controlling. She manipulates Beck, keeps her dependent, and quietly harbors feelings for her. Joe recognizes Peach as a bigger threat than Benji ever was. A battle of wits ensues. Joe watches Peach closely, uncovering her secrets, while Peach begins suspecting Joe's true nature. When she invites Beck to a secluded estate, Joe follows. Things escalate, leading to a tense confrontation between Joe and Peach. By the end, Peach is gone, and Joe has once again erased a roadblock in his pursuit of Beck. With Peach's absence, Joe and Beck's relationship flourishes, for a while, but cracks begin to form. The truth comes out. As their relationship deepens, Joe becomes increasingly jealous and paranoid. When he suspects Beck is seeing someone else, he follows her. His worst fears are confirmed. Beck is having an affair with her therapist, Dr. Nikki. Devastated, Joe confronts her. The truth comes spilling out, and their relationship crumbles. But Beck's heartbreak soon turns into curiosity. She starts asking questions about Joe's past. What really happened to his ex-girlfriend, Candace? Why did she suddenly disappear? As Beck digs deeper, she makes a terrifying discovery. Joe has been keeping souvenirs from his past crimes, including her stolen phone and evidence of what happened to Peach and Benji. Realizing she's in danger, Beck tries to escape. Joe, desperate to hold on to the woman he loves, locks her in the book vault. Trapped and terrified, Beck does what she does best. She writes. She crafts a chilling story, one that shifts the blame onto Dr. Nikki. She pleads with Joe, convincing him that she understands him, that she sees him. It's all an act. The moment she gets the chance, Beck locks Joe in the vault. Hope surges through her. She's free, but Joe has anticipated everything. And in the end, Beck doesn't escape. Months later, Joe has carefully rewritten history. Using Beck's writing, he frames Dr. Nikki for everything. Beck's book is published posthumously, cementing her legacy. And Joe? He walks away, once again unseen, unscathed, and free to find the next one. But just when he thinks he's safe, Candace returns. Season 1 of You is a masterclass in psychological storytelling, giving us a protagonist who is as disturbing as he is compelling. Joe isn't just a stalker, he's a chameleon, an expert at blending in and making people want to trust him. But the deeper we go, the more we realize Joe Goldberg isn't looking for love. He's looking for control. With Candace's shocking return, the question remains, will Joe finally face the consequences of his actions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite movies and shows. Until next time, be careful who you trust, because you never know who might be watching. Welcome back to the Movie Vault. Today, we're diving into You Season 2, the next chapter in the story of Joe Goldberg, a man who will do anything for love, even if it means leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. After barely escaping New York with his life, Joe finds himself in Los Angeles, the last place he ever thought he'd end up. Armed with a stolen identity, a new apartment, and a fresh start, Joe is determined to leave his past behind. But as we all know, the past has a way of catching up. Joe, now going by Will Bettelheim, quickly finds himself drawn to Love Quinn, a talented chef with a magnetic presence. Unlike his past obsessions, Love isn't just another conquest. She's someone who understands him in ways no one else has. But Joe doesn't trust himself, and for the first time, he actually tries to resist. Yet, resisting Love Quinn is easier said than done. While attempting to build a normal life, Joe befriends his teenage neighbor, Ellie Alves, an aspiring filmmaker with a sharp tongue and big ambitions. But danger lurks around every corner, and Joe's protective instincts kick in when he discovers that Ellie is spending time with a well-connected comedian, Henderson, a man with a hidden, sinister side. Just as Joe begins settling into his new life, a man named Jasper shows up at his apartment looking for the real Will Bettelheim. Turns out, the identity Joe stole comes with strings attached, one of which is a hefty debt that Jasper wants paid. What follows is a classic Joe spiral, a desperate attempt to fix things, a moment of brutality, and yet another body to dispose of. Meanwhile, Love's world begins to consume Joe's life. He meets her closest friends, Lucy, a sharp-witted literary agent, Sunrise, Lucy's free-spirited girlfriend, and Gabe, Love's best friend and wellness guru. But it's Love's twin brother, 40, who complicates things the most. 40 is erratic, needy, and a wannabe screenwriter determined to make it big in Hollywood. He latches onto Joe, pulling him into his chaotic orbit. As Joe juggles these new relationships, he digs deeper into Henderson's dark secrets. What he finds is worse than he imagined. Using his usual methods, Joe gathers evidence, but in the process, he finds himself in a deadly confrontation. One moment of panic, one wrong move, and Henderson ends up dead. Joe scrambles to make it look like an accident, but the authorities are already sniffing around. Just when Joe thinks he's out of the woods, an unexpected blast from the past arrives. Candace. Not only is she alive, but she's in LA, and she has one goal: to make Joe pay for what he did to her. She embeds herself into 40's life under the alias Amy Adam, charming him while keeping a close eye on Joe. With Candace watching his every move, Joe's paranoia starts to mount. Hoping for a break, Joe agrees to go on a wellness retreat with Love and her family, but the trip only amplifies the tension. Love and 40's family is dysfunctional at best, and it's here that we learn more about 40's troubled past. Love confesses that 40 was involved in a tragic incident when they were younger, one that their wealthy parents covered up. This adds a new layer to their already messy sibling relationship. Back in LA, things spiral further. Love moves on with Milo, her late husband's best friend, while Joe tries and fails to date other women. 40, still fixated on adapting Beck's book into a screenplay, unwittingly pulls Joe's past into the spotlight. Meanwhile, Delilah, Ellie's older sister and a journalist, begins to suspect Joe's involvement in Henderson's death. When she finds his storage unit, she uncovers a terrifying secret. Joe catches her in the act and is left with no choice. He locks her inside, promising himself he'll let her go. But then 40 comes up with one of his worst ideas yet. He stages a fake kidnapping, locking himself and Joe in a hotel room to force Joe to help him finish the script. To make matters worse, 40 drugs Joe with LSD, sending him on a surreal trip where reality blurs. Joe hallucinates, relives his past, and loses time. By the time the drug wears off, he realizes something horrible. Delilah is dead, and he has no memory of what happened. In a panic, Joe retraces his steps, desperate to figure out if he's the killer or if someone else got to her first. Then, Candace makes her move. She follows 40's clues, pieces everything together, and tracks Joe to the storage unit. When she arrives, she finds Joe standing over Delilah's lifeless body. Without hesitation, Candace locks Joe inside, calls Love, and tells her everything. This is it. Joe is finally exposed, but just when it seems like Joe's past has caught up to him, the show delivers its most shocking twist yet. Love already knew. Not only does she accept Joe's past, but she confesses her own dark secrets. She was the one who killed Delilah. She was the one who eliminated another person from their past, and she meticulously orchestrated their relationship, making sure Joe would fall for her. For the first time, Joe isn't the one in control. He sees Love for what she really is, his own reflection. And just as he considers ending it, she drops the final bombshell. She's pregnant with his child. With that revelation, Joe decides to stay. Maybe this is what he was looking for all along, a partner just like him. Meanwhile, 40, having finally figured out the truth, tries to save Love from Joe. He holds Joe at gunpoint in a final confrontation, but before he can pull the trigger, he is shot and killed by Officer Fincher. With 40 gone, Love's powerful family steps in, cleaning up the mess and pinning multiple deaths on 40, ensuring that Joe and Love walk away free. The season ends with Joe and Love moving into a suburban home, preparing for their new life together. But in the final scene, Joe's obsessive nature resurfaces as he sets his sights on their new neighbor. And just like that, the cycle begins again. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into You Season 2. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more in-depth looks at your favorite shows. See you next time. Welcome back to the Movie Vault. Today, we're diving into You Season 3, the latest chapter in the story of Joe Goldberg, our favorite obsessive, manipulative, and dangerously romantic anti-hero. This time, Joe finds himself in the last place he ever expected, the suburbs. But as we all know, Joe can't change who he is. Now married to Love Quinn and raising their newborn son, Henry, Joe attempts to embrace his new role as a devoted husband and father. However, the idyllic town of Madre Linda, filled with influencers, tech entrepreneurs, and fitness-obsessed suburbanites, only makes Joe feel more suffocated. It's not long before he sets his sights on someone new, Natalie Engler, their mysterious and alluring next-door neighbor. A new obsession and a sudden disappearance. Natalie, married to powerful tech mogul Matthew Engler, senses Joe's interest and invites him for a private wine night. They share a moment, a kiss, but Joe, for once, hesitates. He's determined to be better. He returns home, trying to ignore his instincts. But Love, she sees everything. At a party hosted by local influencer Sherry Conrad, Love overhears Natalie gossiping about her family. Suspicious and enraged, Love searches Joe's belongings and finds a secret box filled with stolen mementos from Natalie. She confronts Joe, accusing him of falling into old patterns. He denies it, but the damage is done. And then, just like that, Natalie vanishes. Joe is unsettled. He had barely begun fantasizing about Natalie, and now she's gone. But this time, he's not the one responsible. This time, it's Love, pulling him deeper into the darkness. The perfect suburban couple, with a secret. Desperate to keep up appearances, Joe and Love attend couples therapy while working on a plan to explain Natalie's sudden departure. Meanwhile, Love opens her bakery, the Fresh Tart, unaware that she's about to draw even more danger into their lives. Joe tries to move on, but then he meets Marianne Bellamy, the town's sharp-witted librarian. She's struggling with a bitter custody battle, trying to protect her daughter from her manipulative ex, Ryan Goodwin. Unlike his previous obsessions, Marianne isn't a fantasy. She's real, with real problems and real pain. Joe is drawn to her. Meanwhile, Love meets Theo Engler, Matthew's charming, rebellious stepson. Though he's much younger, Theo is smitten with Love, and she, frustrated by Joe's emotional distance, enjoys the attention. The Town of Secrets. As Natalie's disappearance gains media attention, Joe and Love consider ways to deflect suspicion. But when their son Henry contracts measles due to an unvaccinated neighbor, Love's protective instincts take over, leading to a confrontation. In the heat of the moment, they find themselves in a complicated situation, and soon they have another secret to keep. Searching for leverage, they uncover a disturbing truth about someone in their town, someone with a hidden past. But before they can decide what to do, the situation takes a shocking turn, one that conveniently shifts blame away from them. For a brief moment, life is peaceful. A crumbling marriage and dangerous affairs. 6 months pass. Joe and Love try to maintain a facade of normalcy, but temptation lurks at every corner. Joe's feelings for Marianne deepen, and he begins to secretly learn more about her life, including her struggles with her ex. Meanwhile, Love, still grieving Forty's death, finds comfort in Theo. Their flirtation escalates. Theo kisses her, and though she initially resists, a connection forms. Things take a bizarre turn when Sherry and her husband, Carrie, invite Joe and Love to swing with them. Joe, hoping this will expose his broken marriage, agrees. But Love, she just wants to keep Joe close. Joe, however, is focused on one thing: removing Ryan from Marianne's life. He attempts to sabotage him, but Ryan is more cunning than expected. When Ryan discovers Joe's interference, things come to a head. Joe, desperate, takes drastic action, ensuring that Ryan will no longer be a problem. The beginning of the end. Meanwhile, Theo stumbles upon evidence of Matthew's illegal surveillance of the neighborhood, realizing his stepfather suspects Love in Natalie's disappearance. Hoping to protect her, Theo rushes to the bakery, only to find something shocking hidden in the basement. Before he can process what he's seen, Love finds him. Their tense conversation escalates, and Theo is left injured, unable to warn anyone about what he knows. At home, Love discovers something worse: Joe's obsession with Marianne. She finds evidence of his growing fixation and realizes that despite everything, Joe will never change. The final showdown. Of Preytown, Love prepares dinner for Joe and confronts him. He wants a divorce. She wants him gone. She enacts a plan to make sure Joe never leaves her. But Joe, always one step ahead, has anticipated this. In a shocking turn, the tables are flipped, and Love finds herself in a position she never expected. As Joe finalizes his escape, Love makes a final chilling confession. She killed her first husband, James, when he wanted to leave her. Joe writes a note in Love's name, framing her for everything that happened in Madre Linda. He burns their house down, making it look like a tragic accident. Meanwhile, Sherry and Carrie escape the basement, rekindling their marriage in the process. Matthew rescues Theo, and the two finally reconnect as father and son. But what about Henry? Joe, knowing he can never be the father his son deserves, leaves him with Dante, his trusted coworker at the library. And then, just like that, Joe Goldberg disappears. The final scene finds Joe in Paris, under a new identity, searching for Marianne. Because no matter where he goes, no matter how much he claims to change, the cycle always begins again. Final thoughts. Season 3 of You delivers some of the show's most intense moments yet. With Joe meeting his perfect match in Love, only for their marriage to unravel in the most dramatic way possible. But while Love is gone, Joe's journey is far from over. With a new city, a new identity, and a new obsession, one thing is certain: Joe Goldberg will never stop searching for the one. What did you think of You Season 3? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into your favorite movies and shows. Until next time, stay safe, and maybe keep an eye on your neighbors.